Okay, here we are. My name is Amanda Cooley, and I'm the owner of Ruby Yoga here in North Bay, Ontario. I'm here with my dear friend Ryan Farquhar of Ryan Enda Mindfulness and Meditation. And tonight we're going to have a pretty relaxed conversation. I want to first ask you, Ryan, about your journey to meditation or how meditation found you. Maybe we can lead with that.
I sure can. Before we do that, I want to thank you for, of course, I'm blessed to be here.
Thank you.
But congratulations on all the work that you're doing in this regard to raise the consciousness of our community and the world at large is a great thing to do. So
thank you.
It's great.
Thank you.
How did I get into this? This way of thinking, or certainly my introduction to meditation, came through business. Being in business and being lucky enough to travel the world extensively, primarily in China and in India. I had some business partners there that through some high-level stressful meetings, I watched them, certainly watched myself on a roller coaster, a stressful roller coaster up and down, watched them as they were extremely calm. And it certainly captivated my attention and my curiosity as to how they could pull something like that off, not exhibit any symptoms of stress in situations like that. So that really spurred me on to dive deeper, and what I came up with and what I was taught from them is one of the skills was meditation. And that was one of the secrets that they had as an undercurrent that was keeping them on the calm level, that I wasn't seeing any kind of anxiousness or anger at all. And from that point on, I started digging and I never stopped digging.
Cool. So what, you started meditation. I mean, did you just sit down one day and quiet your mind? How does that come about for somebody? If I'm a beginner student, what's my first step that I'm going to do?
Meditation itself is a skill, but I would say that it's the common denominator that needs to be cultivated on a daily basis. And we can get into the skills and the intricacies of that. But what I learned right away in the beginning wasn't so much to get calm and get still right away. I had to learn this idea that they were telling me that we have an ego. The ego that is constantly striving and never arriving. The ego that identifies ourselves with what we have, what we wear, what's in our bank account, what we look like, what other people think of us, what our accomplishments are, what our positions are, and our possessions are. And realizing that we identify with that physical, material world, and getting to a point that an understanding or an idea that there's something much, much greater than that outside of all that. Because the fact is, if we do identify ourselves with what we do for a living, and then we don't do that anymore, we aren't. If we think we are what we have or what we own, our possessions, and that gets taken away from us, then we aren't.
Right.
If we think that something that's in our bank account, that is what we are, and then all of a sudden it's taxed or someone steals or whatever the case may be, then we aren't. So I choose to believe and understand the larger picture, that there's something much greater than that out there. So getting to the meditation point, I guess the idea is if you can kind of grasp that there is something greater than that there, something that is more belongs to you, your inner self, then the idea is to connect to that on a daily basis, and that's where meditation comes in.
That's cool, because in yoga we refer to it as the big S self, right? Yeah. So, and I know for yoga, as the term yoga, meditation is a part of that, but on a higher level, it's about self-awareness. So you're on a day-to-day basis seeking what it's like to be yourself internally, your true essence.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
So on a day-to-day basis, what is the intention when you're sitting down? And
well, you'd say that science has proven this, that when we get up in the morning and our feet hit the ground, we have 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day, one for every 1.2 seconds. Our brain is like a snow globe. It's just all shooken up and it's going. Now, the idea would be to create a pattern interrupt right before that.
Okay.
That space. And Lao Tzu said that it's the space between the notes that creates the music. It's not the notes themselves. It's the space between that creates that music that we love so much and so dear. Well, for us to get a pure life, settle down to a space where we are calm and we are collected and we are stress-free, then we need to create some kind of space for ourselves.
Right.
So that's where meditation comes in, and I would say that it's in the morning. It's before, I mean, if there was an audience here now, I would say raise your hand if you're one of the people that get up in the morning, the very first thing you do is reach for that phone or grab that coffee or shoot off that email or
make that to-do list.
That's right.
Yeah.
And most people raise their hands.
Yeah.
So what I encourage and suggest is this idea of creating a ritual in the morning. And so that's 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day. Before we jump into that whole hustle bustle, we create that little space. And that's where we would inject our meditation routine. And a lot of the feedback that I get is that, Ryan, I can do this, and I've done it. I've done it for a couple of weeks, but then I fall off, and I just can't get it going. And so I refer commonly to my teacher, my guru, David G.
Cool.
And because he created this idea that if you make a ritual around it, then you can continue it. And it just becomes a ritual that you do every day, and it's non-negotiable.
Like brushing your teeth.
Like brushing your teeth. And that's another thing. So, Ryan, you meditate every day? Well, and I'll say, do you brush your teeth every day?
Right.
It becomes a ritual. That's exactly right. So he developed RPM, Rise, P, Meditate.
I love it.
And that's just your ritual every single morning.
Yeah.
So it's a helpful way to stick to it.
Yeah. But I think it's important that people understand that we're allowed to have our downs. But it's about, like what you said, you just kind of put one foot in front of the other, and you keep going, and then you get back on that wagon and you try again, and you keep trying and trying and trying, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's as we kind of talked about a little bit before, there's two levels to that. One is having this limited belief. Many people have a limited belief, this thought or idea that I can't do that. Somebody else can do it better. It's not really for me.
Yeah.
I'll never get good at that. That whole type of poverty mentality, that thinking that they're less than.
Yeah.
It's shedding that. It's adopting the new feeling for themselves that my life is abundant. I'm capable of anything and nothing is off limits. Anything is possible. Adopting that mentality, that's the first step. Second step is not to be so hard on yourself. There is a time for everything. There's a time to be sad, there's a time to be happy, there's a time to be angry, frustrated, and so on. But there's a time for that. It's not for all time.
Sure.
So we can embrace the idea that we can get angry for a little bit or upset at ourselves or be hard on ourselves because we might have forgotten. But then we get back up on the horse and do it.
Right.
I always say you're only ever one meditation away from your practice.
Yeah.
So if somebody's been cultivating their practice and doing real well at it and then forgot or didn't do it or whatever,
Yeah.
you're only ever one away.
Then, so a practice, what does that mean for you? Is that 1 minute? Is that 3 minutes? Is that 5 minutes? Like for you yourself, what is your ritual? How long do you sit in meditation every day?
Okay, so if we'll go to the beginners.
Sure.
Beginners, somebody has not meditated before, then certainly guided meditation is a great way to start. It's not easy just to get in there and start being quiet and silent on your own. A lot of people are very uncomfortable getting quiet on their own, and I know some of the listeners or viewers will agree with that.
Yes.
So guided meditation is a great way. So you find that space in your home, you get a cushion put there so you're comfortable, because comfort is everything. If you're uncomfortable and you're trying to be too formal, then you might not stick to it.
Right.
So get comfortable, even if it's lying in your bed. But it's pretty simple in the morning. First thing you do is rise, meditate,
Yeah.
but that meditation can be a recorded meditation. I often, if you're familiar with SoundCloud.com, SoundCloud.com/David G,
Yeah.
there's no more abundant resource of guided meditations there. So those meditations, and they range from, to talk about time, they range from 10 minutes to 25 minutes.
Yeah.
You find a time that's good for you. For me personally, I've just gotten to my routine. I'm usually about 45 minutes in the morning in silence, but you get to that point. It doesn't have to be right away. Yeah.
So your alarm goes off at?
Yeah, I mean, certainly. Well, 5:30, 5:50 is my time to get up. But your body starts to do that naturally over time. You don't need the alarm.
Sure.
Your body just rises and just becomes that way. I can't think of what days would be like without a meditation at this stage in the game.
Okay.
That's how much it's done for me, and I think that's worth saying. Because our goal in life, our dharma, is to be on purpose and to be doing what we are passionate about. And ultimately, if we look at the word dharma,
Yeah.
the way that I understand it to be, dharma is your purpose that you're here for. This is the number one question. Why am I here? What's my purpose?
Yeah.
I believe that your dharma is to find your purpose, is to find what you're passionate about. There's 7 billion people on this planet, and everybody has a unique talent or gift. So I think our number one step is to find that unique talent or gift. And number two step is to find out how you can serve others with that.
That's nice. That's a really nice
These are the
thought.
things that you would focus on in your quiet time, right?
Okay.
You know, digging and finding. A lot of people are living an existence that they may or may not be pleased with, but they're still in search of that, of their dharma or their passion.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I like that. So the roller coaster ride, I know when people will call Ruby Yoga and they'll ask if I offer meditation classes, and I've often referred them to your sessions, although I know that you just kind of got back from a training. And so they're seeking a way to de-stress. And can you shed some light on that?
On stress itself and how people...
Yeah, and how sort of, because in your business background, you said you kind of saw, you know, you're going up and down, but you saw your Chinese business partners kind of just be on this beautiful, content level. So has meditation de-stressed you and your life?
Well, absolutely. Meditation itself creates the baseline, but it's what you do off the cushion, if you will, that really makes the difference in your life.
Cool.
There are a few key things, you know, 10th century Talopa said, have a mind that's attached to nothing but open to everything. So to be walking in your day-to-day life and being open to anything that might come your way, but be unattached to any outcomes. This would be a key ingredient to starting to de-stressify your life.
Okay.
Because the number one reasons, what is stress to begin with? And you can define stress to say, stress is having your needs not met. That's
Sure.
a simple way to look at it. And when our needs not met, what needs might that be? My need might have been to have somebody show up in my office at a certain period of time. If I was very attached to that time, then the moment that they're a couple of minutes late, I'm now feeling stressed. But if you're unattached to any outcomes in your life in general, then you can start to adopt this relaxed understanding that if something's not happening the way that you want it to, and you're not attached to that outcome, then you can understand that perhaps it's exactly how it's supposed to be at this moment. And if that's not happening right now, it's likely creating space for something even equal to or greater than to happen. So...
Okay, I like that. So it's also kind of letting go of control. You know, we think that we're so in control of our lives, but you're saying sort of just let everything come to you as it is, but don't be attached to the outcome. So let the control of trying to be everything and do everything and, you know, check those things off your to-do lists all the time, because that's a buildup of stress.
It's a buildup of stress, and it's being attached to an outcome. It's being attached to getting things done on time and being attached to these types of things. Although, you know, if our intention is to be at a certain point, that's great. We can do that. But if things happen between point A and point D, let's not miss point B and point C along the way. You know, and we can miss those points by being distracted, by being attached to an outcome.
Okay.
So, you know, Alan Watts said, the word water, you can't get wet from the word water. There's much more in a name. It's the essence of what you're trying to do, but you have to get the work done. So if you're looking at just a certain word to encapsulate what you're doing and that's what you're going to label it, it's more than that. You have to do the work.
Cool.
Yes.
I like that. We're getting questions in. If you are open to this, I think it's wonderful.
Great, yeah.
Okay. So we have a question from Daniel Robert Joseph Williamson.
Hello, Daniel.
He just commented the power of now.
Yes, Eckhart Tolle.
Yeah, okay.
Absolutely. The
Okay.
power of now. Living in the moment, that's right. And, you know, we just spoke about attachment to outcome. That's a great way to not live in the now.
Yes.
Yeah, being in the now, this is where you're most powerful. What is life behind you? You can't do anything about that, it's done. And what is life in front of you? You can't do anything about that, it hasn't happened yet. There really is only that moment. It's a great book and it's a great point of view and perspective. Thank you, Daniel, for sure.
Yeah, thanks, Danny. That's awesome. I really enjoyed that book. I found that book way back in... actually, just as I was starting my yoga journey, there was a workshop that one of the yoga teachers went down and they saw him speak, and then they sort of brought that back to one of the yoga classes, and that was great. So I often kind of keep referring people to that book. We have another book here as well. Ryan, if you wanted to do that. And
David G. My
yeah.
teacher, my guru, wrote Secrets of Meditation. He has another book out called De-Stressifying. This particular book, the viewers, if you are interested in learning a little more about meditation, this is a great practical guide. It's going to touch base on the simple points of meditation. It's going to talk about the skills and benefits, of course, health-wise, that you do realize through a practice of meditation, and certainly different types of meditation. There's so many, many different types of meditation. So this is a great tool. But I will caution a little bit that when we get into these types of conversations, sometimes it's natural to feel, oh my God, my life is kind of here right now. I need to get it here, and I need to do it today. It's a spectrum. You move along a spectrum, and every single day, living in the now, as Daniel mentioned, is so important for that. And I'll give an example of that.
Sure.
Portia Nelson wrote something called an autobiography in 5 chapters.
Okay.
And I think it beautifully illustrates the movement over time. She says, in chapter 1, I walked down the street and there was a hole in the sidewalk. I fell in the hole. It's not my fault. I can't believe that I'm in here. And it took me forever to get out. Chapter 2, I walked down the street and there was a hole in the sidewalk. I pretend not to see it. I still fell in. I can't believe it's happened again. It's still not my fault, and it takes me a long time to get out. Chapter 3, I walk down the sidewalk. There's a hole in the sidewalk. I see the hole. I fall in the hole. I can't believe it. This is a habit. It is my fault. I get out a lot quicker. Chapter 4, I walk down the sidewalk. I see a hole in the sidewalk. I walk around the hole. And in chapter 5, I walk down a different street. You see the spectrum here.
Yeah. Yeah.
In the beginning, we are over here with the feeling that it's not our fault. If things go wrong, or if I snap too quickly and I have kind of a reactive situation, anger steps in, anxiety gets in, depression, sadness, and these types of emotions, these lower energy emotions. And then you start to, if you study and you research this and be open to and attached to nothing and move your spectrum, move the needle just a little bit, you'll start to notice them. It's still going to happen in your life. You're still going to have these situations that you regret later on.
Yeah.
But you continue to move the needle. Cultivating a meditation practice, get silent, utilize space, get calm. You start to take a more reflective relationship with your awareness of self, and less reactive. And then you start to notice things as they happen. And then the more you move along that spectrum, you start to catch them before they happen.
Yeah.
And then before you know it, they're not happening as much in your life. But the point is, it doesn't all happen on day one.
No, of course not.
A lot of people say meditation, mindfulness, it's kind of cushy and it's a little bit woo-woo. And, I have a hard-working job and I don't have time for that. This is the hardest work that you'll ever do.
Yeah.
It's the work that you do on yourself. The way you have to roll up your sleeves and change the way that you look at things. Dr. Wayne Dyer.
Yeah.
Dear soul, this phrase is beautiful. When you change the way that you look at things, the things that you look at change.
Yeah.
Doesn't get any more simple than that.
And it is. It's really hard to open yourself up and feel vulnerable enough to look at your bad habits or look at those things that you might be fearful of in your own self, right? And just by looking at them, like you said, look at them first, recognize them, and that's when change will happen.
There's 24 hours in a day. If we're treating our bodies right, we're getting somewhere in the area of 8 hours of sleep. That leaves 16 hours. So in 16 hours and then 8 hours sleep, if you are cultivating a meditation practice in the morning, then you're revisiting yourself in silence and stillness every 24 hours. With doing that, if we look at some of the scientific, because we can talk about thinking this way and we can talk about cultivating a meditation practice and all the things, but scientifically, it's come a long, long way. The scientific community has now taken this very seriously because now they've proven that your brain does develop and makes changes. So when we talk about what you just mentioned, being vulnerable, the part of your brain called the hippocampus is responsible for spatial relations and learning and compassion and empathy and patience and tolerance and love. And in near the back underneath is called the amygdala. This part of your brain is responsible for fear and anxiety, sadness, depression, and all these types of things. It's proven that in 7 weeks, 56 days, meditation, 30 minutes every morning. What they did was they had hooked up the brain in the University of Massachusetts, I believe, and they were able to prove that in that short period of time, the hippocampus, the part that's responsible for love and compassion and patience and tolerance and acceptance and compassion, this part grew in these people's brains. And the amygdala, so fear and anxiety and depression and sadness, that part started to shrink. So there was actual physical changes in the brain just from the practice of meditation. The cool thing is there's nothing else in the game at all in our life right now that makes those type of profound changes in our physiology.
That's cool. I really like that.
So there's a scientific backing to all this, which is great because in these types of conversations there can be a lot of doubt. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd like to just open it up to questions. If you, here we go. Yeah, so we want to keep talking, but if you have any questions, feel free to type them in, and we're getting cues here as Ryan and I keep talking. I do have more questions for you, if that's okay.
Lovely.
And then we'll see if we get people coming in and asking questions. You talked about creating this ritual, and I find it really interesting because you said, find a space to get quiet. So what does that look like in someone's house if they've got kids running around and dogs barking and, all these external distractions? What can their family do? What can they do to find that space that is quiet?
One of the first things when I'm in class and we've got the students discussing this, one of the first takeaways to go home with is the idea, or homework I guess you'd say, is this idea of a sacred space.
Okay.
To create that sacred space within your home. There's many, many options within a busy home. It doesn't matter the size of your home or the layout of your home or the family dynamics of your home. Everybody can choose and find a certain space. And how do you make it? It's got to be a place that's comfortable. It's got to be a place. I suggest and recommend, and Wayne Dyer, this is where a lot of those ideas come from, all the things that you find move you in a positive direction in your home. That could be candles, that could be little statues, that could be pictures of your loved ones, your kids, your pets, anything. And you surround this little area with that.
Cool.
This is the place that you return to every time.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that. All those little
It makes you
treats.
feel good, right? So it's that feel-good space.
Yeah.
And if it invokes that feeling of positivity,
you're going to
want
to go back.
You're going to want to return there.
Yeah.
You're going to want to return there each and every time.
So we have a question from we've got a question from Kelly McGill, and the question is Ryan Anda Meditation teaming up with Ruby Yoga for more workshops?
Yeah, well, we did that last year or the year before.
Good question. I mean, we're always kind of in discussion about things, so maybe, I don't know, maybe we can come up with some cool thoughts and cool ideas.
Absolutely.
It's always
things like
nice.
this, these types of discussions, and certainly cultivating a meditation practice in a large group is so rewarding and so fulfilling for so many people. I just go on my website a lot of times if I'm having that kind of day, and I'll just read the testimonials.
Yeah.
And there's no distinction between with age or what people do for a living. I mean, I know the classes that I've had range from 16 years old to 87 years old. It's 50-50 men and women, and it's from doctors to teachers to everything.
Yeah, yeah.
So everybody's welcome, and this is you do the same thing in your yoga class. So when you merge those two worlds, a lot of great things can happen, and it certainly did the last time we did it. So we would be remiss not to do it again.
I think so. I think so.
Yeah, so great question, Kelly.
Yeah, thanks, Kelly.
So I'm assuming, Kelly, we'll see you there if we do that.
Yes, hope so. I hope so. Is there any more questions? And if not, then I don't know.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you want to touch on before we...
I think just the idea that when we collectively, the more and more people that can look at life through a more compassionate lens and shed our egos. When we talk about ego, certainly we're talking about this idea that when we're born, or certainly when we're in the womb, we're not worried about things happening on time. We're not attached to any outcome. We just trust our nature. That's what we do. We don't get a sonogram halfway through the pregnancy and go, oh my God, I don't have a nose. Is the nose going to arrive on time? We don't do that. But certainly when we come out into this world and we start to be raised in this world, that's when we start to take on these things. We start to learn and we start to compare and we start to judge a little bit and we form opinions. And then what we're doing actually, in fact, is we're cultivating an ego at that stage in the game, and that's where we start to feel separate from everyone. And I think the takeaway from the mindfulness mentality is to try and come back to source, come back to the idea that we're all one, and we can really trust the universe that the way things are the way they're exactly supposed to be. If we want to live, and we can live a positive and compassionate lifestyle, we can just really put trust in the nature that's all going to take care of. I mean, if we look at our fingernails right now, look at your fingernails. Now, can you tell them right now to stop growing for the next 24 hours?
No.
You could tell them that all you want, but they're going to do that anyways, right?
Yes.
Our hair's going to, well, in my case, maybe fall out a little bit even more, but things continue to happen that are out of our control.
Yeah, for
Well, what
sure.
is that? That's much more beyond our physiology, right?
Yeah.
Things are going on that is far beyond our physiology. Our fingernails are growing and our hairs are, it's just this is the type of idea I want to kind of get across, that we need to believe that things are going to continue to happen, whether we like it or not. Our bodies right now are not the same bodies that they were, 20 years ago.
No. Yeah,
Like
I tell all my students that.
Yeah,
Right?
that's right.
We have a question from Sheena Long, and she's asking, what is the best way to introduce meditation to children? And I think this is really cool because you were just telling me about this not too long ago.
I was, Sheena. Thank you so much for asking that question. I was lucky enough to do some meditation teachings and mindfulness talks in schools last year, in elementary schools. It's an amazing thing and an eye-opener for a lot of kids to be able to get in this conversation, and I really enjoyed it. But to get right to your question, with meditation with children, it's attention, of course. How long are they going to be? And then distractions. So the guideline really is how many minutes is how old they are. So if they're 6 years old, 6 minutes. And if you can do that, let's just use 6 as an example. At their 6th birthday, it's 6-minute meditations, and you start to get into this routine and this ritual.
Cool.
Then on their 7th birthday, they gain another minute.
Neat.
Now it's a 7-minute meditation, and an 8-minute meditation, and a 9-minute meditation. And they grow into it, knowing that each year they meditate for 1 minute longer. And of course, throughout these times, and we discuss them in classes, and I'll continue to teach them, but many different types of meditations, and fun ones for children as well. Sheena, when you're talking about kids, for example, the hummingbird meditation, it's not this formal meditation as we know it, with your mudras and the certain techniques and posture and formal posture, but with children, simply covering your eyes, actually covering your eyes and your ears,
Right.
and long inhales,
And then buzz out like a bee?
and buzz out like it blocks out all distractions from your ears, from your eyes, and the vocal.
Yeah, totally.
All noise.
And that's actually
And they love it.
Yeah, and that's actually in yoga. That's actually a pranayama breath too,
It's all
which is
pranayama
fantastic.
practice, that's
Yeah,
right,
yeah, that's really cool. And so you have your own kids. Do they meditate? Do you meditate with them?
Yeah, from time to time. It's tough to
Okay.
keep them in that ritual. They see dad out there all the time. At this stage in the game, at 13 and 14 years old, dad's kind of weird, talking like this all the time. But before school every day, we have mindfulness talk.
That's cool.
Before they leave for the bus or to walk to school. And the meditations, depending on what's going on in their lives, if they want to really tune in, which they do often, they will definitely pull up. They will all have zafus in the house, cushions. So we'll gather for family meditation for sure.
That's nice. And, it goes back to that sort of morning ritual. I like that, before they get on the bus to school, you're talking or setting an intention for the day even.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's neat.
Sheena, that's great that you bring up children. I tell you, when I see a picture of a child meditating, it does choke you up a little bit, because Dalai Lama said that. If a child meditates for an hour a week for 8 years, if the children do that, then in a decade, all of the violence would be eradicated.
Wow.
That amount of compassion done at that age, on that much of a level, you wouldn't have the violence and the
impact.
things that we deal with. Certainly bullying and violence in schools
Yeah.
and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
These are the things that are going to affect our future. We can do what we can do to live as examples and cultivate kindness and love and compassion. But man, if we can get the kids involved, that's really, really something. Very, very powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I think that's it. Yeah. So just want to say thank you again for coming. Maybe we can talk about something in the new year together.
Yeah,
but it's really nice always visiting with you. So thank you very
Absolutely.
much.
No, namaste.
Namaste.
Appreciate it. And
Yeah.
thank you all for watching.
Thanks so much. Hopefully have a good evening, and we'll be back soon with another guest.
If there's
So,
any further questions
Yeah.
in this particular, whether it has to
how
do
do we
with
get a hold of you?
mindfulness or awareness or certainly meditation practice, ryananda.ca is my website. But certainly on Facebook, you can easily message me, facebook.com/ryananda meditation.
Yeah.
Reach out, shoot some messages on, and you'll also be tuned in then when I set up the next courses.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you.
Okay?
Yeah.